So you're going to start the same way you do the oral topical. You're going to review the MAR, patient, diet, allergies, diagnoses. I'll give you a time. These MARs are meant to allow you to practice all of the routes. I will probably have MARs that have multiple IM medications on them if you're doing IM. And then just like oral topical, you're going to need to know your military time because I'll tell you that you're giving the 7 p.m. medication. So you'll need to find the order that's scheduled for what time? 1900. Every vial you need will be in the drawer, so no matter which time, you'll have a medication that you will be able to get. So, start dates we know about. The stop dates, did we talk about that in class? Like antibiotics are self-limiting, amoxicillin twice a day for 2 weeks. Right. So unless the physician writes another order, when those 2 weeks and 28 doses are done, the order is discontinued. Right. Doctor doesn't have to write an order to discontinue it. When he wrote the original one, it automatically has a stop on it. So then match the MAR to the drawer and start our checks. So any questions on the insulin? In the 3 checks and 5 rates I think we've gone through on the mixed insulin. Just remember that the sliding scale is a separate order and needs its own 3 checks and 5 rates. Doesn't matter that it's the same medication. Your patient could have 2 different orders for Tylenol, one for extra strength and one for regular strength. So every order gets 3 checks and 5 rates. And with the insulin, I recommend that you do your math right up front. I'll give you a sticky that will have the blood sugar on it. So then you should calculate your regular insulin total, add your NPH to it, and have your final total. So you've got your 2 numbers to work with when you're ready to draw them up. For the IM and the intradermal, that's when there's 5 points associated every check with you calculating the volume you're going to administer, because the MAR and the vial don't match with dose. One has the physician's ordered dose, the other has the concentration sent from pharmacy. So here is how the intradermal and IM checks go. So the tuberculin is like a stock med, doesn't have the patient's name on it, but I've got Stargazer. The drug name tuberculin PPD. The dose is 0.05 micrograms. My vial is 0.5 micrograms per 1 ml. Intradermal now at 0800. Today's the 30th. It hasn't been given. And on your first check, I want you to tell me the expiration date. Expiration date is June 8th of 2012. It's not expired. And I want you to tell me the bottle was opened on March 15th, and it's been open less than 28 days. Okay? So
just on the first check?
Huh?
On the first check alone?
At least on the first check.
Okay.
So it's, especially with the date open, it's not a bad idea to do it with all 3, because sometimes, especially when we're moving from month to month, so opened on March 15th, this is April 13th. Has 28 days expired?
Yes.
Right. You actually have to count. This is where my fingers come in handy. So you need to actually be sure, because the vial may be in there if nobody else has figured out that it's more. So then I did my first check. Now I'm going to calculate the volume I'm going to give. So my order is 0.05. They're both micrograms, so that's my desired. I'm going to divide it by half, which is 0.5 micrograms, times the supply, which is 1 milliliter, and the dose is 0.1 milliliter. Administer that. Second check, sorry?
And that's how you want us to do it?
Yep, I want you to tell me the dose that's ordered. Tell me what your supply is. So 0.5 micrograms per 1 ml. And then do your math and tell me what volume you're going to. So I'm going to give 0.1 mLs because with this vial, that will deliver 0.05 micrograms.
Will we
which
have
is
to
what was ordered.
convert it all like that? Or-
No,
Okay.
no. There won't be any conversions. So, then second check, Stargazer, tuberculin PPD, 0.05 micrograms. Intradermal now, I have a vial of 0.5 micrograms per ml. It's due at 0800 on the 30th. It hasn't been given. Expiration is June of 2012. It's not expired. It was open March 15th, so it's been open less than 28 days. So after my second check, then I do my calculation. My order is 0.05 divided by my supply, 0.5 times 1 equals 0.1 ml.
We can write it down at that point if we want, right?
Yep, you can write it. You don't have to use your calculator. You don't have to write it down if you don't want. But the reason we have you do this with every check is, I kid you not, I've had students come up with different numbers with every check.
Oh, God.
You don't clear it enough,
Yeah.
the memory's still in there. Or you get to the third one, you've drawn it up and you're just doing your final one, and now instead of 0.1 you get 0.01. Okay, so is that one right, or were the other two I just did? So students have caught med math errors on the third check. As long as you correct your dose before you administer it, it's not a med error. So then I make a decision about what syringe needle combo I'm going to use. So intradermal, so I'm going to use the TB syringe. Need alcohol wipes. As long as I don't contaminate, I shouldn't have to change the needle. So clean the top of the vial. And I just do a 1, 2, 3.
Can I ask a quick question?
Mhm.
When we're doing the insulin and we
Yep.
have the two vials and we clean both of them at the same time, like this one, that one, and then I don't have to re-clean.
As long as you don't touch the rubber stopper.
Okay.
So, slip tip, push it on, rock it while I'm pulling it off, loosen the cap, and then take it off in a controlled manner. Loosen my plunger, 0.1 of air. Whoops, into the vial. And unless that stood on its head, the stopper is still sterile. Inject the air, invert the vial, make sure I'm only touching the end of the flange. Remember, you always get air the first time. Stand back up.
Does it help to go up and down like that?
Sometimes. But remember, it's not enough to get it to the top. You have to get the air out. So the slip tip and the lure locks are not vantage points. So no, you don't get to have air at the top. There's no space above the zero line. It all has to be out. So once you've got the right dose, then you recap. You get one recognized contamination. So if my cap had turned around, I didn't realize it, and I'm trying to cap it through the solid part, as long as I recognize that I've contaminated, that's what I would say. I've just contaminated the needle, so I would change the needle, and then I could proceed.
But you don't have to.
No, you wouldn't have to. So now my third check, I have Stargazer, tuberculin PPD. My order is 0.05 micrograms intradermal now. My supply is 0.5 micrograms per ml. It's due at 0800. It hasn't been given. Expiration is June 2012, not expired. Opened on March 15th, so it's been open less than 28 days. I check one more time to make sure I don't have air bubbles. And then I've got the right dose. And then needle, vial, and MAR go to me to check your dose, and I will be doing one of those. The only one that I will tell you that you don't have the right dose is on the regular insulin. Because I won't be able to tell whether or not you've got the right dose on the NPH if I've got you starting out.
Right.
But that's all I will say. I'll say the dose is not correct. You need to figure out why. Did you add the units wrong? Did you read the sliding scale wrong? Is there air in there? All right, you need to puzzle that out. So now, vial goes back in the drawer, lock my drawer, and then I would go to the room. So if I'm doing intramuscular, so it would be the same thing other than you've got all the information on the MAR. So you've got the name, you've got the drug dose route. So 20 milligrams of furosemide, my supply is 15 milligrams per ml. So 3 times doing the math again. So 20 milligrams divided by my supply, which is 15. Whoops. 20 divided by 15. 20 divided by, it's moving on me. 20 divided by 15 times 1 equals 1.333333. So it's over a milliliter, so I'm going to round to the nearest tenth. So I just looked one place over from that. So 1.33, I'm not going to round it up. I'm going to keep it at 1.3 milliliters. So I am going to need a 3 ml syringe, and then it's up to me whether or not I want a lure lock or a vanish point. The advantage to the vanish point is that you don't have to worry about the needle coming off. It's attached. The advantage to the lure lock is that should you contaminate the needle, you could change it. Or if you chose a 1.5 inch needle and then realized you're giving it in the deltoid, you could change this 1.5 to a 1 inch. So lock it, draw down 1.3, clean the top of the vial, 1, 2, 3. Again, controlled removal of the cap. So big. Make sure you go through the bullseye. And with these, you don't want to push it all the way in. You want the bevel to be above the liquid. Because otherwise you're going to carbonate your med, and you're going to have a greater chance of drawing air up. So after I've done it, then I'm going to put it all the way in before I invert so I don't, in error, touch the hub. I usually turn it so that I can see the space, so I can make sure my bevel stays under. And then draw down a little more than the 1.3 I need. Get the air up. Nice thing about IM needles is you really have to work to bend them.